Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Apostate Weekly. I'm your host, James.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week, we have some stories coming to you from Louisiana about chemical castration. And we'll find out what that relates to later. Also have another murder rape mystery going on out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And we got a supervisor who gave a kid a card containing the JW.org logo on it for being kind. Yeah. Tell me that doesn't sound predatory in any way.
Okay.
So we got that and more coming your way. So let's hit that intro and get into this. Alrighty then. So another week, another batch of news coming your way. Has it been hot up your way lately?
It has. The weather has gotten back to feeling more like summer. Today it's overcast, but it's even warm still.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been going through that. Like last week was nice and got cool. We even had lows in like the 50s, which was really nice. And then now this week we're back up into highs in the mid 90s. It's just like, oh, that time of year again. Where the weather's a yo-yo. Yo, I'm going to be cold. Yo, I'm going to be hot.
It doesn't know what it wants right now.
No, it doesn't. So anyways, why don't we go ahead and get into the news this morning? You want to go ahead and start with your castration law?
Yeah, why not? That sounds like a fun intro to this morning. Start Wednesday off, right?
That way we can cut that out of our lineup for the day.
Ay, Dios mío. So let me pull this article up. So Louisiana, leave it to Louisiana, right?
Right.
Is now enacting a surgical castration law. And I'm just going to read straight from the article. Republican Governor Jeff Landry says that the surgical castration law is going to be a punishment for sex crimes. And it will go into effect. It went into effect this month, and it allows the judge to order people found guilty of certain sex crimes against minors to undergo surgical castration. And they did say if you choose not to get the surgical castration, then you would have to add another, let's say, 5 years additional onto your prison sentence. And as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't seem like much of a deterrent. I would just take the 5 years. If I was a guy, I feel as though I would just take the extra 5 years rather than lose my balls. Am I wrong for that? Or
no, you're not. Because speaking as a guy, I'm rather attached to the ones I got. But like. I probably
would choice.
I would probably say, give me the 5 more years. Screw it.
Considering some of these people may have already spent 10 years, right? Like they may have already spent 10 years or looking at 10 years. Not that people get that type of sentencing for aggravated like rape and assault. But they may. So what's another 5 and you get to keep your friends?
Right. And I'm look at the trees comment here, and I get that, but not all sex crimes involve penetration either. Yeah. So, it depends on what the perpetrator's specific, what's a good word?
Like
their sicknesses.
Right, exactly.
Because everybody has their thing. Some people just like to expose themselves to others. Others like to go after certain things. It's a whole wide range of things. So it that's one of those laws that I don't think is very effective on the face.
It's like in theory, it sounds good. Like, oh man, it might put fear into the hearts of some people, and maybe they won't. And it could. Maybe there are some people who are borderline, whatever, and like, okay, yeah, I just can't risk that.
Well, Ken, you never know what you're gonna get on this show.
But I
We
really,
went deep into the topic right away.
but I think that look at the trees has made an excellent point, as well as what about people who are convicted of these kind of crimes and they aren't guilty?
Yeah,
Is there a
exactly.
possibility that it disproportionately could be used against people of color, let's say? W- That is my fear is that's my fear. Yeah.
And that right there, Jokic, is exactly what it is. It does not fix the hardwiring in the brain that makes them want to exploit.
Right.
It doesn't. It does not fix their sickness.
We're not addressing whatever the sickness or problem is. Is
No,
it social? Is it mental? What is it?
what made that person become that way? Some people just have it in them to be that way. Others
Right.
go through shit in their lives and they become that way. So
Mhm, mhm.
what
Some people are
made them
just
that
evil.
way? We don't know. But just cutting off an arm isn't going to make you stop being a thief, you
No.
know? So,
So that's my only issue with that is I could see it getting out of hand, being a problem. Now, she said she was inspired because of a story of a person who had been a previous offender. And again, that I can understand. But is this going to address and solve the problem for not only this man, but for the rest of women? And then what if the offender is then what happens? Like, what do you do in the case of it's somebody
a
who
woman.
doesn't have balls?
Yeah.
Then
We
what?
had a story last week about a woman who was a
Right.
predator. So,
Right. So can this law be enacted fairly?
exactly. And I mean, I get on the face of it, yes, it looks good. But when you really break it down and cut down to the meat of this, I don't think it's a very good law. I think the
It's
problem
sweeping.
is with our system, they want to find ways to punish people rather than find ways to rehabilitate people and make them healthier mentally and more functioning in society. And that's the problem we have especially in our country.
Because they profit off of crime. We've built a
Yes.
whole system of policing that profits off of people doing bad things. Why would you wanna fix that? And that's kind of a lot like drug companies. Why would you wanna fix a lot of the diseases when you can just profit off of making the drugs to put a Band-Aid on it? I feel like they're very similar systems for that reason, and we're not addressing the actual problem, and I think that people behave and do better when they have access to healthcare, to food, to stable, home, right? Like, and that's what we're lacking in this society, and it's getting increasingly worse. There's more houseless people. Houseless people will eventually have to go to jail because they don't have a home, which is just so wild to me. It doesn't fix the problem. And
No,
I
it
and
doesn't.
that and I don't get why our country just continues to do it. And Jokic made a good point about Trump. I don't know if you heard of this case, but there were 5 young men that were accused of graping somebody in a park, and it was not them. It was not them, but Trump took out a huge ad in the newspaper, like inciting violence against these young men, and then they were exonerated.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that, but
Yeah,
that's
it's
terrible
really
right
sad.
there,
They
and
spent 35 years. I follow a couple of them on TikTok. like are activists now, which is amazing, but it's sad at the amount of loss they suffered. So yeah, these laws can be used against vulnerable people, like people who are unhoused, people have mental issues, whatever, as well as people of color, indigenous, da 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 da. So
Right. Exactly. It's just another way to put a Band-Aid on a sinking ship, and that's all that really is.
lipstick on a pig.
Lipstick on a pig. Oh, is that what you're gonna do to Trump now?
I thought pigs were pink, not orange.
Well, it depends on the kind of mud they roll around in, I suppose.
He's been rolling around that diarrhea.
Ugh. You had to say that when I had my mouth full of drink. Ugh.
Oops.
So yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on now to our next story we got for you. This one I have is coming out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Oops. I'm trying to stop it. Stop it. We're both clicking on the stuff at the same time. That's why you're seeing it flash on and off, because we both have control of the controls. This is what is called equity or equality. So in North Carolina, now this case it's actually an older case, but it's recently been going back to trial again. And the reason why it's being brought up in the show this morning is because there was a murder and a rape. They had a trial about it in 2010. And basically, they gave the excuse of demonic possession. You know, the old devil made me do it argument here. And so these people are Jehovah's Witnesses, and the one guy who was the perpetrator here, he's been in prison for a while. It says he spent 14 years in jail without a trial, and he was 24 and she was 23 when he did this. And so this was, like I said earlier, murder, a rape, and even incest in this whole thing. I mean, it keeps sounding more and more wild as it goes along. Now, what's crazy is this guy, his name was Ward. He was previously found mentally unfit to stand trial, but now is defending himself. And this is what they call a pro se trial, where you defend yourself. Now, I'm sorry, unless you're a lawyer, that's stupid. I mean, why would you try to defend yourself if you're not trained legally? But he went that route. The part I'm scrolling by there is just the original newspaper article from the Charlotte Observer of May 26, 2010. But this is just such a crazy situation going on here. And I don't know the outcome of it yet. We don't have any of that here yet. But they say how they're opening up Pandora's box by talking about demons. Now, I don't know much about the legal system when it comes to things like that, but I'm pretty sure you can't go up in front of a judge and say, you know what, judge, I was demon possessed. That's why I did it. You should let me go.
I don't believe that would hold up. I feel as though they would make you submit to some kind of mental evaluation.
Yes. Well, that's why he was originally deemed to be unfit to stand trial, because of a mental evaluation. So now I don't know what kind, it doesn't say in the article if he went through any kind of therapy or not, but apparently he has to have gone through something while he's been in jail to now be deemed fit to stand trial. So this is just a crazy case. One of those out there ones, I would say. But I thought it was just an interesting story because of the whole demon possession angle on it that they were trying to use. So the article is in the description below if anybody wants to take a look at it. And it also shows you the original articles about this story back in from 2010 as well. So might be something worth checking out.
Very, very interesting. I always wonder that why people can't just go up on the stand and say, demons told me to do it.
Well, I mean, if that were the case, how many people would use that excuse and just get away with all their crimes and everything? If
But
that was a legitimate.
And I think that's why they realize demons aren't real.
Yeah.
It's just people's minds. People either pretending or thinking or being influenced.
Well, see, now that I believe, Ken. But I think in that situation, you received the rod of truth.
Hey.
So, anyways, that's all I got to say on that story. Was that your only story you had? Was the Louisiana one?
I do want to mention the Be Free protest again, just so everybody is aware. If you've not somehow have missed it, come this September 13th at 10 a.m. in Washington, D.C., there will be not only former Jehovah's Witnesses, but as well as current but hiding members who will be there at the protest demonstration, raising awareness. So I'm hoping to be there, and I hope that other former fundees, not even just former Jehovah's Witnesses, will decide to come in support as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and the link is in the description if it's just Be Free, I think.
Are you getting an echo on my audio at all?
No, I'm not hearing it.
I'm hearing it like every once in a while. So I was curious if you were or not.
On your end or me when I talk?
When I talk.
Oh,
yeah. No, like I'll say something and then I'll hear it echo back in my headphones. I'm like, I don't usually hear that.
People in the audience have. I've not heard sounds. It has sounded good to me.
Okay. Well, then with that being said, I'm going to move on. So the next story I got for you is there's this supervisor on a public school bus who gave this kid a thank you card for being kind. Now, on the surface, that doesn't sound too bad. You know? Okay, this supervisor, kid was being kind. I'm going to give you a thank you card for being kind. Cool. Sounds harmless, right? Let's see here. Oh, they removed the post. Oh, man.
What? They removed?
Oh, yes, right.
They removed the post.
And I saw this just last night, too.
But what would have been so bad about the post that it would need to be removed? I wonder.
I don't know. Because I was reading a lot of the comments about it. Now, here's what it actually was. So since I can't show it to you, which I apologize about that. So the card that this supervisor gave to the kid, yes, it was a thank you card. It also had a scripture on it. I forget what the scripture was. I think it was something out of Proverbs. But then at the bottom right corner of the card, it had the jw.org logo on it. Oh, bless his heart.
Yes, bless. How kind. How thoughtful.
And
How
and
free.
there's people in the comments saying, "Oh, I don't see why that's such a big deal." Well, the big deal is that's a predatory tactic for a supervisor on a school bus to give a kid a card with that on it, because that kid can't refuse it at that point because of the power imbalance that's there.
Exactly.
And that is a very predatory tactic for a JW to use to try to indoctrinate a child that was not his own into his religion.
But they do try to influence children.
Yes,
And they admit it. They're okay with that. They'll hand a child leaflets, pamphlets, brochures. They don't care.
Oh, I know. And it's sickening. And I mean, who's to say what background that child has, you know? I'm going to go out on a limb and more than likely probably another Christian denomination. But even if that's the case, who wants somebody from another religion trying to push their religion on them when, especially as a kid, trying to get on the bus to go to school that day? I don't want my children to go through that. I don't want other children to go through that. You're there for a reason. And then one commenter also brought up another really good point. How is this not a violation of the separation of church and state?
Oh,
It's
right.
a public school bus. So right there, he's a state employee pushing his religion on a child. That is not a separation of church and state when he's doing that.
And it could be depending on if they're considered like state worker, but either way,
Yeah.
the dynamic, like you said, there's an imbalance and it's inappropriate.
And that's what it all boils down to. It's the inappropriate imbalance of power that this supervisor yields it over that child. And that should not be allowed.
Yeah. Wonder what the proverb was.
So I'm going to I'm not going to type up a poll, but put in the comments for the show here while you're watching. Do you think the supervisor should be fired or disciplined for what he did? Let us know what you think.
Ooh. As far as our castration, oh, I put chemical. I didn't mean to put chemical. It's surgical. But either way, it's castration. Could you see it as problematic by any means? And everybody here voted yes so far. I'm really surprised. I'm kind of glad, but I'm surprised. I'm quite surprised.
Yeah.
By that answer.
So
I'm with you
anyways,
guys. I'm with you.
Yep. I'm with them too. I got to say, I really am.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Do you think you would have believed the same when you were a JW? Because I feel like I might have agreed. I might have thought that was cool before.
If I was a JW, I would have thought that's okay.
I think I would have. Yeah, I kind of think I would have as well.
Because, and here's the reason why I say that, because JWs have an ends justify the means mentality. So it doesn't matter whether their tactics are predatory or, unethical or whatever you want to call it. It's still an ends justify the means, as long as I can get them to join our cult and therefore think they can now survive Armageddon with us. I'm good. I did the right thing.
Well, and that is their tactics at the door when they preach to people. They're not going to just spill the beans and say, hey, you're going to die. They lead you into the paradise first, and they get you on all these little snags and strings. And before you know it, then they hit you with the wop-op-a-lop.
Yep.
You're going to die.
So we got our first reply: discipline the first offense, fired if it continues. Yeah.
I'm with you,
Ab-
Doc.
Yeah,
I'm good with discipline. I feel like everybody should be given a chance to learn, I guess depending on what it is. But you should have an opportunity to course correct
you
and
should.
learn from your mistakes.
But at the same time, how many other times has this guy done it and gotten away with it too?
Well, they say that you don't usually get caught on your first time, so who knows how many kids he slipped this card to. And the sad thing is he in his mind probably thought, oh, this is brilliant. Not only
Hmm.
will I reward the kids and make them feel good like they've done something special, but the reward will be bringing them to Jehovah.
And now I can also check my box this month.
Uh, And there's always a possibility that that's what's behind what his motive is, right?
That's almost weird to say because you used to be like, now I can count my hours or count the
Right,
time.
but now
Now I
he
can
just
check a box.
I passed out a card. I'm good. My heart is guilt-free.
Yes.
My heart is light.
I won't be blood guilty because I perpetrated upon a child.
Right. Goodness.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, that's what I gotta say about that. The mental gymnastics. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore.
Yes, same here. Okay, now I saw something also on Twitter this morning. One last thing I want to share with you today from Kimberly O'Donnell. And this is going out to um, everybody who is in Oakland, California. And I don't know how well can you see that on the screen. I couldn't make the
Ooh.
picture any bigger. I
No,
tried.
no, I can't really see it that well, but that's fine.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just read it word for word what it says. And then, of course, the link is in the description, so you can all check it out later and read it again. So it says, help needed, Oakland, California child abuse case from the 1970s.
Oh,
And it says, I am looking for assistance from the community for anyone familiar with the following places and names or who may know anyone else with knowledge of these things. The North Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses in Oakland, California. Any congregations in the vicinity of Oakland, California. Anyone named Craig Carlos Valentino or or variations of that name, including Craig Gallagher. Anyone named Ronald Busby, Johnny Johns, Edmund Dewey. The time period that is critical to this case is the mid 1970s, but anything from the 70s to the 80s may be helpful. Please be aware that anyone with specific or sensitive information may reach out by direct message here on Reddit or by emailing support@jwchildabuse.org. General information may be placed in the comment section, but always remember that any accused persons, congregations, or organizations may be innocent of allegations until proven or found guilty in criminal or civil proceedings. Never harass or dox any individuals referred to in public court findings. And I should clarify, Kimberly O'Donnell retweeted this, but this was from her husband, Mark O'Donnell, aka John Redwood.
this is wow. I will definitely make sure to cut this portion up and make it a short because I think that's
Yes.
really important. And maybe I'll even add it to my channel as well or something. I don't know, or make a video just reading it because that's rather important. And since we have a public space to get it out to the public, we could actually we might be able to figure this out.
Oh, yeah. And that is the great thing with the power of the internet. You know,
Yeah.
somebody posts something and it starts sharing, starts getting spread. And before you know it, it starts getting to the right people because it's all out there for everybody to see. Hey, we need help in Oakland. So now we'll go post this in like an Oakland group or, you know, a Reddit group or a Facebook group or whatever. And now it closes it in, even closer to who needs to see it.
Right.
Because I mean, I did the same thing when we were reporting on Martin's son, and I went and found Facebook groups in Charlotte to post, about his son in there to try to get it to the right people to help him find him.
Did you ever tell everybody how much he got for the GoFundMe? I don't even remember. We might have already talked about that since you brought it up.
I know I said can't get my words out. I think I did, but I'm not 100% sure at this moment.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But I know we talked about it all the way up to and just after the funeral for his son. So if you want to fact check me or find out, go back to those shows and you can find out. Good way to, sling our older shows, right?
There you go. Make sure you like.
That's right.
Yeah, but this is awesome. So make sure you guys share that. Of course, share this live, but as well, like when you see that short, if you wouldn't mind just sharing that to any other social media, and be certain to like put some kind of headline about what the case is about, because people might just see a picture and scroll.
Right. And that's important, is the headline. You got to capture whoever's looking at its attention.
Clickbait them, man.
You got to clickbait them.
It's like, I hate having to do that. I really dislike it. But how else are you going to get seen?
Yeah, and that's the problem, because unless it reminds me of when we were Jehovah's Witnesses. Remember how they would tell you to keep your introduction to the householders short?
Mm-hmm.
Like 30 seconds or less, because they wanted you to capture their attention.
Oh,
you were basically going door to door, clickbaiting the people at the door by doing that.
We're salespeople.
But how are you going to get people's attention if they see a lousy title that doesn't appeal to them? It's kind of a catch-22. I don't want to be clickbaity, but you got to be to get it out there.
Right.
So
forgive us, everybody.
Forgive us, for we have clickbaited.
We have to do what the algorithm tells us to do. It whispers in our ear dirty little secrets, and we have to listen.
One day when we get really good at this, we'll be the masturbators.
Oh, yeah. I'm working on it every day and night. All I do.
Yes. It's hard work.
Somebody's got to do it.
That's right. Okay. Well, I think that on that note,
I think that's it. Oh, also, J-Dubs, I think it was in Tennessee, J-Dubs wrapped up one of their conventions. I don't know how many people they normally get there, but some of the news coverage that I saw, which was like one article, and it was probably something that they paid for because it boosts the economy. That's how they always put it forward. There were a lot of empty seats.
Speaking of that, I saw a post on Facebook from a JW website talking about how empty the conventions were this year. And I'm like, yeah, lots of people are leaving.
Yeah. I think that COVID break might have drew a little wedge in between the members.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, COVID.
It did so much damage, but I guess we need to at least see the silver lining, which is it possibly woke some people up from their cult indoctrination, and even woke some people up to the other indoctrination they are facing, not just religious, but in society, because cults are all around us.
Yes, they are. All righty then. Well, with that being said, we thank everybody for joining us this week on Apostate Weekly. Please be sure to tune in next week as we bring you more news and headlines from the world of Jehovah's Witnesses and cults. And we love y'all, and we will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Apostate your way. Love you. Bye.